It is my great pleasure to be here today with you all students, and also some faculties are there. They are joining online. So I have come here. This is my second visit to SJSU. I have come here in 2012. This is just after 10 years. So it is a great experience, no doubt. May I ask a very pertinent question that, guys, in of the 24 hours of your day, how much time do you spend over social networks? Rough idea? Yeah. And for sleep, for study, and all these things, for your dictation, etc. Yes, it is day to day, day by day, the social networks are becoming part and parcel of our life. We cannot do without it. So I will talk about the misinformation containment in online social networks and the role of community structure, underlying community structure in the social network. Community, as you know, the community means highly connected set of people that we will call community. How these are represented in social networks and how they actually influence the propagation of misinformation. That will be our discussion today. I am Nabanita from Advanced Computing and Microelectronics Unit of Indian Statistical Institute. It is in Kolkata, that is in India. This is my web page, this is my email ID, and I will present today a joint work with my PhD student, Arnav Kumar Ghoshal, and my collaborator, Shaheen Dash. These are all from, Arnav is from again, Kolkata, India, and Shoham is from Microsoft Research in USA, Redmond, USA. So let us start from the very basic definition. That is, what is misinformation and what is another form, that is disinformation. What is misinformation? It is the false information that is held or spread regardless of intent. Okay? It is not to bias anybody, but just out of sharing some information, I am forwarding some messages, but it is a false message. It is not true. That is misinformation. It is without any intent. And disinformation is a subset of that misinformation, which is actually with intent to mislead. Right? So misinformation is a superset. It actually, its part, disinformation is a part of it that is with intention. Okay? So we will mainly concentrate on misinformation. Right? Is it so? Let us explain it with some recent examples. There was a rumor that if re-elected, Donald Trump planned to eliminate Social Security and Medicare. Joe Biden is mentally impaired. Some people are actually just forwarding this misinformation and to bias the people and all these things. Vote counting machines were manipulated. CDC exaggerated number of deaths from COVID-19. Trump kept having COVID-19 in order to win sympathy votes. Trump went to hospital last year after suffering a stroke. Dr. Anthony Fauci funded a lab in Wuhan. Kamala Harris was not born in US. Those information were there in the year. These are some recent examples. Now you see, all this information are misinformation. Okay, they are not true actually, but you see, but it is believed by large number of persons. Percentage of respondents saying statement is true. It is source is Indiana University's Observatory on Social Media Survey. Result is by November 2020, and it shows that all this misinformation one by one, almost 48%, 45%, etc. So many percentage of people, they actually believed it. Okay, so if the misinformation were there, it is spread by mouth or by social networks or today's so many media, etc., then people are actually getting biased by it, and it may affect the our society very badly. Okay. You see the power of fake news. If you see, it is a paper by some paper in Science in the year 2018 that says that actual news story, if it goes with a velocity, say 1 unit, fake news story will go 6 units. That is, the relative speed will be 6 times more than the real story. People are actually fond of these stories, and they actually take part in spreading these widely, right? And level of public misinformation, if you see, it is the estimated thing, ballpark estimates by Tom Patterson based on opinion poll. Okay, it shows that, you see, this is x-axis, shows the year, okay, and y-axis is the percentage of citizens misinformed on typical major issues. It shows that, you see, in 1980, there was only 14% of people that were actually misled by misinformation. But with time, you see, the curve is increasing, okay? And it has gone from 14% to 37% by the year 2020. Okay? So people are getting biased by that. People are getting moved by this misinformation, which is most unintentional. So what we can do? Let us state the problem overview in this way. You see, over the whole worldwide, there is the rise of intolerance and also breakdown of norms against lying. And that have actually resulted, very unfortunate it is, and that have resulted in a dramatic increase in the supply of misinformation. Okay? Many sources are actually spreading this misinformation because there is no central check, and also people are becoming intolerant day by day. And also, on the other side, on the technology part, the large use of online social networks has provided fertile soil for the emergence and fast spread of rumors, causing harms to real life. Many bad incidents may occur. It is actually indulging the intolerance, and many unfortunate events may happen. As you have seen recently, many unfortunate events are occurring around us. That is not at all. It is based on fake news. So misinformation containment in real time is absolutely necessary. Right? Now, we will consider the problem regarding its spread of information through the online social networks only. That is our problem. And that will formulate as misinformation containment problem in online social networks. Right? So today we'll talk about misinformation containment problem in online social networks. So for that, whenever that is a function, this misinformation is spread through the online social network. Online social networks is for communication among the people, among us, and how it functions when it is spreading misinformation or it is spreading information. That analysis is to be done so that we can apply certain suitable techniques to limit the spread of misinformation. And that will require social network analysis. For that, we will represent the society as a graph, right? So people are represented as a set of nodes. The small round boxes, those are nothing but the persons, okay? Say Jim is one person, Tom is one person, and they are friends via the social network, maybe the Facebook, Twitter or whatever it may be. So there is a connection. So people are represented as a set of nodes, V, we call it V, and relationship are represented as a set of edges, right? And then it constitutes a graph, GVE. V is the set of nodes, set of people, and E is the set of relationships, right? If two people are related, that means you connect them with an edge. Then the figure that you will see, that is the graph GVEE. And we will map. So what is that? There is a network, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. And it will represent it as a graph, as a set of people and as a set of relationships among them, right? So it is nothing, online social networks is nothing but a graph GVE. So an edge is a connection, a tie between two nodes, and we'll assume that it is bidirectional. That means if Jim is a neighbor of Tom, that means they are related, they have the relationship, they are connected, then Tom is equally connected to Jim. Okay, like that. Now, a neighborhood Ni for a vertex V, say Tom. Who are the neighbors of Tom from this graph? Who are directly connected to Tom? Who are they? The neighbor of, yeah, Jim and Harry. Yeah. So you see, a neighborhood Ni for a vertex Vi is the set of its immediately connected nodes. And that is called the degree. The degree Ki of a vertex Vi is the number of nodes in its neighborhood. That means with whom he is directly connected. And what is path? Path is, you see, that Tom is directly connected to Harry and Jim, but Tom has no direct connection with Dick. But it can go via a path. That is, Tom will send the message to Harry, Harry will forward it to Dick. So Tom's message can go to Dick, can reach Dick, right? So this is a path, Tom to Harry, Harry to Dick. That is not an edge, but a combination of edges, right? So now the important thing is that what is the shortest path? Many paths may exist in the graph between a pair of nodes who are not directly connected, but which one is the shortest? That is shortest number of hops, right? So given a graph, for every pair, you compute the shortest path, okay? The shortest number of hops, how they are connected. Now take the longest one. That is called the graph diameter. As you know, in the circle, diameter is the longest separation between the 2 points on the periphery. Here it is also what is the longest path in the graph to connect two vertices. But if a vertex is isolated, then it is not connected to anybody and there exists no path. That is the thing. But in society, everyone is connected to a person or not. So in this way, any graph, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, that is nothing, but it can be represented as a graph. And since this graph theory is a very old and well-established branch of mathematics, so we can directly apply the mathematical tools of graph theory to analyze the behavior and functioning of the online social networks. Okay, so it is interesting to note that it focuses on interaction rather than on individual behavior. When two people on online social networks, they are connected, it is important that how they interact, that will actually influence the whole network or the whole society or whole number of vertices. So social network analysis can analyze the connections across individuals or groups of institutions. It may be the social networks, may be just not the general purpose network, but it may be a co-authorship network. Say I am a researcher with whom I collaborate. With him, I am directly connected. In this way, in any area of science, you can find a collaborator network. The number of group of researchers, the number of scientists, how they are connected. Okay, in a class, okay, who are the neighbors? how they are seated, or who actually are friends. This is, in this way, you can represent a network. Okay. And also, it is very old actually. It can be applied across disciplines, not only social networks, political networks, electrical networks, transportation network, educational psychology, child development, sociology, and anthropology. At the very early ages, actually, the psychologists, they apply the social network analysis to find that why a child is disabled in some form, why its IQ is not better, how he is becoming, he is making friendships, etc. For that analysis purpose also, this network analysis will have been applied. Here, we will give you a simple, very interesting example, that is the Kevin-Bacon game. It was actually developed by Albright College students in 1994, very old. What was it? Goal was Kevin Bacon, he's a dignified actor, legendary actor. Connect any actor to Kevin Bacon by linking actors who have acted in the same movie, right? Co-actors. And then you can construct a graph. In Oracle of Bacon websites uses Internet Movie Database. The movies that are available on the internet, that is a huge database. On that database, you construct the graph, how with Kevin Bacon, all other co-actors are connected, right? Hop by hop, intermediate. They may not be directly co-acted in the same movie, but they may have, through other parts, they are connected to find the shortest link between any two actors. It is not a very simple problem. It is computation intensive, but they have established the algorithm along with the database, and they tried to find the distance with Kevin Bacon. See, an example, Kevin Bacon. We start with Kevin Bacon. I'm interested to find Amitabh Bachchan. Have you heard of the actor Amitabh Bachchan? In our young age, he was a legendary actor of India, and we were all fans of Amitabh Bachchan. So I am interested to know how Amitabh Bachchan is connected to Kevin Bacon. So say Kevin Bacon, he acted with the co-actor Tim Robbins in the film, what was it? Mystic River. Then Tim Robbins, he was a co-actor with Om Puri in Code 46. Om Puri was a co-actor with Rani Mukherjee in the film Juba, and Amitabh Bachchan was a co-actor with Rani Mukherjee in the film Black. So how many parts, how many links are there from Kevin Bacon? 1, 2, Kevin Bacon to Tim Robbins, then Om Puri, then Rani Mukherjee, then Amitabh Bachchan. So there are altogether 4 links. So the distance is 4, it says. But actually, if we run the algorithm, and you see that there is exactly the Bacon number is 3. Amitabh Bachchan was in Pate in 2002 with Arnie Alpert. Arnie Alpert was in Enemy of the State 1998 with Paul Majors. Paul Majors was in The Woodsman in 2004 with Kevin Bacon. So actually the distance is 3. That is the shortest one. Less than 4. So this is the right answer. That is the game. You have to find the shortest path from 1 to 1. In that way, say another, here we'll talk about the legendary mathematician Paul Edos. Paul Edos, he has no address. He was just a globetrotter. He attended one conference, then he traveled to another conference. In this way, he lived his whole life from 1913 to 1996. He visited with our institute. He has a strong relationship. He visited our institute many times. I didn't see him because he passed away in 1996. But he was a great mathematician. He wrote 1,500 papers with 512 co-authors. So many collaborators with them worldwide. He collaborated. So with all these 512 co-authors, he had a direct link if you connect them in the network. And J.D. Grossman of Oakland University, his website, you can visit this website, There you can see that how the connecting path lengths among mathematicians you can find, and how far are you from ADOS, that is called a ADOS number. Any mathematician can find ADOS number. And most surprisingly, say it was from Tuama of Microsoft Research. He found that from ADOS, he was a co-author of Fanchum. Fanchum was a co-author of David Mumford, then Peter Bellhumer, and then Kenneth Tuama. This way, you can find the ADOS number. So its ADOS number was 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So in this way, this network analysis is very important to find important relationships among the vertices or among the nodes or among the people of the network. Now here is a very, very interesting example that says that the world has a huge population, but any two persons may find a path of length less than equal to 6. That is called 6 degrees of separation. How it was established? The result is very old, you see, 1967, Milgram's experiment. That say that he has done some experiment that random people from Nebraska were to send a letter to a particular destination to a stockbroker in Boston. Okay, but the condition was that you can send your letter to your friend or to whom you know, a known person. You will send it. Then he will again forward it to a known person. In this way, that will go to the finally to the stockbroker in Boston. Okay, so you don't consider the destination. You just get the packet and you forward it to any of your friend or acquaintance. That is the thing, randomly. But still, then number of packets will be successfully reached to the destination. And for the successful letters reaching the target, the average number of hops was 6 only, not more than that. And that concludes that any two persons in the world, they may get connected by a path of length less than equal to 6. And that is called a small world phenomena. Small world phenomena. What does it mean? Small world, that actually theoretically established by Edos and Rennie in the year 1959. This says that if connections between people can be modeled as a random graph, then actually it exhibits the small world property. Now, because the average person easily knows more than one person, that means in its neighborhood, he has more than one person. So from one person, you can reach, if say the degree is k, that means in its neighborhood, it has k number of nodes. So starting from you, you can reach easily to the 6 persons, to k persons. From the k persons, again, each one may reach, if it is also of degree k, it may reach another k minus 1 person. So what will be the total population that you can reach? K into k minus 1, that is of the order of k square, in 2 hops. In 3 hops, of the order of k cube. In that way, the population will grow and you can reach a large number of people. That way, it is called the small world. So we live in a small world, and Edos and Rennie computed average path length between connected nodes, and it has been found to be logarithm of n. N is the number of nodes, and divided by logarithm of k. K is the average degree. That is number of neighbors of any node. So see, it is in the logarithmic scale, the path length. So it is very less compared to the number of nodes. Any question? Now it says that if the online social network can be mapped, can be seen as a random graph, then we can say that yes, any two people are connected by a path of length less than equal to 6 or so. But how can you prove that yes, it is a small world, really a small world network? For that, Edos and Rennie studied various graphs theoretically. Say this is the upper one, these are all the isolated people. Now, random graph is what? Between a pair of nodes, P is the probability. With P probability, there will be an edge connecting two nodes. Okay. Say it is a uniform random graph, so that for every pair, this P is fixed, uniform. P lies between, P is a probability. So what is the range of P? 0 to 1. Okay. With 30% probability, say between A and B, there may be an edge. So you just flip a coin between 0 to 1, see the value. If it is between 0 to 30, there will be an edge. If it is between 30 and 100, there will be no edge, like that. P and P minus 1. Right? In this way, you can grow the random graph. Now, for P is equal to 0, that is probability of edge is 0. So there will be no edge. So all the vertices are isolated. No edge is there. Now you see P is equal to 0.09. That is 9% only. So the probability is low. So there will be, it is a sparse graph. Not many edges are there. It is sparse. Then P is equal to 1. That means for every pair of nodes, there will be an edge with probability 1. That means there will be an edge always. So for each node, what will be the degree? How many neighbors will be there? Say there are n number of nodes are there. Then for each node, all the n minus 1 neighbors will be directly connected. So it is called a clique. Every node is of degree n minus 1. And it will be for between any pair of nodes, there will be a direct edge. So what will be the diameter of this graph? Longest, shortest path between any pair of nodes. There is a path of length 1. So that is the longest path. So the diameter is just 1. In a single hop, you can reach all other nodes. So random graphs in average degree, how it actually varies, depends. You see, in the x-axis, we have plotted k, that is the average degree. And along the y-axis, it shows the red one is the percentage of nodes in largest component, and the green one is the diameter of the largest component. And you see that the percentage of nodes in largest component, that will grow as you grow the average degree. More connections will be there, so a large component will appear. And if you see through the diameter, as k increases, so as k starts from say very low value 0, it will be all isolated. Okay. Then in the largest component, it is just a single node, so diameter is 0. Then as you grow, then what will happen? The diameter will increase, it will go to a peak, and then as it forms, as if you go on increasing k, it will form a clique. That means diameter will have a sharp fall. And for the clique, diameter will be just 1, like that. So there will be a peak in the diameter as it has been shown by the green graph. And this is the variation of percentage of nodes in largest component and diameter of the largest component with the value of k, right? So, so if we look at, this is the, it was for the random network, where between any pair of nodes, whether there will be an edge or not, that will be determined by the probability p. It is a probabilistic thing. If p is uniform for every pair, then it will be a uniform random network. But in social network, what is happening? It has a tend to have relatively few nodes of high connectivity that we call the influential nodes. In any social network, you will see that there are some hubs or some powerful nodes which have a large sized neighborhood. But not all people are so influential. Okay, everyone, it varies from people to people, but there is but in random networks, you never will find such influential nodes because it is random uniform. Every node is more or less will behave in the same fashion. But here it is a scale-free network. For social networks, it is a scale-free network. What is a scale-free network? It is important that how the average degree is distributed. This is the left-hand side shows a random graph. It is for a random network where the degree distribution actually follows a Poisson distribution. It is an example. It is not that every random uniform network will show this distribution, but it is a typical distribution. On the right-hand side, it is a typical distribution for a real-world social network that shows that with K, the probability that the node will have degree K, that is actually follows a polynomial thing, that is K to the power minus R. K to the power minus R. It is called heavy tail distribution. That is very typical for real-world networks. And there, typically, R lies between 2 to 3. So the degree distributions are different. So you cannot say that a real-world social network is actually a random uniform network. Okay, but the property is that given this degree distribution, if you take the ratio of area under curve from any point B to infinity, from A to infinity and from B to infinity, and take the ratio, it will depend not on the specific values of A and B, but only the ratio B by A. And that is called the scale-free or self-similar network. And scale-free networks actually exhibit small world property. So, what is the fact that you can extract from here? That though random networks, random uniform networks show the small world property, that is any two nodes are separated by at most 6 distance. But social though the real world social networks are not actually exactly the random uniform network, but it is a scale-free network. So it also exhibits the small world phenomena. But it is again, in general, it is a general property, not that it is always valid. So if a given social network, there the degree distribution follows this power law distribution, then only you can say that yes, it is a small, it will exhibit small world phenomena. Small world networks, if you show social networks, sometimes it exhibits that means collaboration network, as we have mentioned, co-authorship, biological networks, then contiguous disease transmission, computer networks, worldwide web, all that actually shows this small world phenomenon. These are all these results from 2008 and all these things. Now, what is the property of small world network or online session? It is also a feature of online social network. What is it? If a node A is connected to nodes, say B and C, then there is a high probability that B and C also will be connected. Say you have 2 friends, there is the high chance that these 2 friends are also friends, like that. That is a feature of online social networks. So that leads actually the emergence of communities. Okay, a set of nodes, they are highly connected. If A have 2 neighbors, B and C are also direct neighbors. That means they will emerge a community structure. Most uniform random networks exhibit small world phenomena, and most real world scale-free networks where the degree distribution follows the power law, they also exhibit small world phenomena. Here it shows in the logarithmic scale the value of K, average degree, and nodes with degree K. That actually shows that it is a power law distribution. Now let us look at what do you mean by community structure. Generally, it means natural division of nodes in the graph such that connections within the same subgroup are denser. They are more closely connected, closely packed, rather than compared to the connections between subgroups. Here, how many communities are visible? How many? Just apparently 3, right? In each subgroup, the nodes are densely connected, but they are sparsely connected among these things. This community structure actually plays a key role in the information diffusion or any other function of the network, and it takes very important role in network analysis. But how can you find, given a huge network, say Facebook, Twitter, millions of nodes are there, millions of pages are there, how can you find, how can you extract the communities? It is not just visibly, it is not easy. So communities in a graph are loosely defined, denser, sparser, that doesn't have any quantified measure. So it is hard to compare. And in Newman Gilvan, they in 2004 have defined the modularity metric, and it is based on the expected connectivity between nodes in a random graph. That is, compared to a random graph, you just put the modularity, but all the community detection algorithms, they compare their performance in terms of this modularity index. And modularity maximization problem is known to be NP-hard problem. That is non-deterministic polynomial time algorithm. You can give only different approaches in computer science. Different approaches are actually followed to find the community structures so far, and many researchers are applying their efforts for this community detection because it is a very emerging and interesting problem. Now, community detection problem is important in sociology, in art science, in brain research, in gene interaction network, Google ranking of pages of websites. We also apply this community structure of the social networks or the database in the database. Keyword extraction from a text. Utility matrix for recommendation system. Recommendation system, you know that in the advertisement, etc., who will recommend whom, etc., that are defined by this thing. And also misinformation containment is another area, important area, where you can apply this community structure. So misinformation in online social, let us come back to our original problem, that is the misinformation in online social networks. So what we have learned so far? So online social networks in general, if the degree distribution shows a power law distribution, then it will exhibit the small world phenomena. And so it will have some community structures, well-defined community structures, and the community structures may take a leading role in information diffusion. Let us come back to the misinformation in online social networks. So here, it is a main information communication platform today, very, very important and very, very powerful. We should say that in a very small time, any information can get viral if a large number of people are actually carried away by this information. And also, the dangerous thing is that very little scope today to validate the information, whether it is true or false. If it is an information, you forward it, you're getting it, you forward it in a group, and it is becoming viral in this way. And so it can, online social networks easily fall prey to rumors and misinformation. And if it is not controlled properly in the nick of time, this may have widespread adverse effects on the online population. Hence, it is a challenging problem to control the misinformation. So now let us see that before suggesting any solution to this problem, let us just go through how the information is actually gets diffused through the online social network, how it is propagating through the network. Various information or influence diffusion models have been studied for years. Original mathematical models was very old, 1778, and in 2001, it was applied for the spread of diseases, to analyze the spread of diseases in the recent scenario of COVID infection. We have applied this also can play an important role. The spread of beliefs or ideas in sociology or economics. For marketing, it is applied. And on the computer science side, influential nodes who who may take control of the information diffusion. That is also very important. Now, the most accepted model of information diffusion is actually independent cascade model. Here, we'll always assume in each models, we will assume that time is discrete. That means it is not a continuous thing. As the clock is actually moving down, you can say it is a digital display where it is showing your time in discrete time intervals. Okay. Say at time step t, a node B becomes active, as it has been shown by the green node B. So at time step t plus 1, it gets a single chance to activate each of its inactive neighbors, that is A, C, and E. These are these inactive neighbors. They have no information at that point of time. So at t plus 1, what we can do, we can propagate forward its information to its direct neighbors with whom it is connected directly. And it is not deterministically, but it is forwarding probabilistically with a probability p. And you can assume it just like a coin flip. If it is head, you propagate. If it is tail, you just forget about it. Then what will be the probability? Probability will be 50% forwarding or not. In this way, when we forward its packet to say A, then we will remain idle. Then in the next chance, A will forward its packet again to its neighbor probabilistically. In this way, it is information will flow through a source node as a cascade, right? And so it was developed by Kempe et al. And it is widely used. This is another model proposed by the same authors, that is the linear threshold model. Here, what is happening, it is not that all edges are uniform, but each edge has a weight. And a node will become active when all its active neighbors, W, if you sum of the edge weights, that will be greater than equal to a threshold of the node theta V. Theta V is actually determined randomly, uniformly between 0 and 1. So it is again a probabilistic thing, and here all the edges are, it is not uniform. In the independent cascade model, P is fixed for any pair of nodes, but here between any pair of nodes, the probability of forwarding is dependent on the edge weight. And if your active neighbors, the sum of their weight exceeds a threshold, then it will get the information like that. Is you are influenced by a number of neighbors strongly? How strong it is? How strong is your relationship? Depending on that, you will get the information like that. You will get influenced. Influence maximization models is that over and above these standard models, for various purposes to model different real scenarios, more models are actually come up. It is called susceptible, infected, and recovered. It is in the spread of a contagious disease. At each time step 1, each node, that is the set is say n, is in one of the 3 steps. Either it is infected, that is, it has got the disease and it remains active for one time step only, when it attempts to infect its neighbors. Right? After that, what will happen? The node infected, that will get recovered as if it has been vaccinated and it gets recovered. Or anyway, by naturally it has been recovered. Okay. And if it is recovered, then it will become inactivated. Okay. And susceptibility are what? The nodes that are infected, its immediate neighborhood or its 2-hop neighborhood, those are actually susceptible. They can get the infection in the next time step or in the future time steps like that. So some infected nodes are there, then the nodes in the immediate vicinity of them, they are susceptible, and probabilistically they will get the infection, they will remain active, they can spread the disease again, and after some time step they will be recovered and they will be inactive like that. that model is actually will be suitable for misinformation diffusion, because here the disease is nothing but the misinformation, and it can spread through the immediate neighbors in this way. There can be multi-try independent cascade model. That is, we have assumed that each infected node, it will get just one single chance to influence its neighbors. But once there is another model where once it is active, it will remain active throughout the network lifetime. It can always propagate the infection to others. And multiple cascade model is that, say there are communities that there, the structure is there. Say there are two competitive product. They are marketing their products. Say one is red one, another is blue one. Okay. They are influencing the people to have to purchase their products, right? They have, say, red ones, they have agreed to, they will like, say, Cokes. Another group of, another competitive company, they have influenced the two nodes, blue nodes, with their products, say another cold drinks. Fine. Now what will happen? Each one will influence their neighborhood to like that product. Red ones will, in fact, will propagate their likings. I like this, you also like this, like that. We always do that. Whenever you see a movie, you will put some feedbacks. If it is positive feedback, your friends will again go to see the movie like that. In this way, you are influencing people. So what will happen? Each red ones, red people, and each blue people, they will send their likings to their neighborhood. So two independent cascade propagations will exist within the network. And if there is anybody who gets information from the red ones as well as from the blue ones, then depending on his choice or his priority or the priority of the information, he will be biased to get either red or blue, etc. That is called the multiple cascade model. We will apply in our misinformation containment problem. We will follow this model. Now let us formulate the misinformation containment problem in this way. So what is that? Given an online social network GVE, whose community structure is known to me, and then at time t, the network has a set of misinformed nodes. Okay, we call it BMT, misinformed node. Now we have a given budget B. Using that budget, we are actually influencing some specific nodes with the true information. I know the true information. I use that budget to influence some seed nodes, we call it here beacon nodes, to put the true information there. Okay, so what will happen? Both the beacon nodes and the misinformed nodes, they will propagate their information in multiple cascades. And we will put higher priority to the true information, so that if anyone gets a misinformation as well as a true information are like they are from reliable sources. Say Reuters, from Reuters. Reuters says this. So people will get biased that yes, it is from Reuters, so it is the true information. The other one, the contradictory one, that is misinformation. So he will not take it. Right? In that way, he will get the true information. He will then propagate the true information throughout this network. And also, but the budget is given. So the cardinality, that how many nodes where you can put the true information, that is limited. And what our objective is, we want to, so what will happen? The misinformed nodes, number of misinformed nodes will grow with time. After that, since the true information cascade has higher priority, it will win over the misinformed cascade, and then the number of misinformation nodes will grow first, and then it will decline, and the number of nodes with true information, that will grow up, and that will eventually will fill up the network. That means that we'll call that when this number of misinformed nodes, TMT plus T, will be always greater than equal to VMT plus capital T plus K for K greater than 0. As time grows, it will be always decreasing after the time capital T. So our objective will be to minimize this capital T, that is the delay when the misinformation is actually contained, and for a given B, and T is termed as the point of decline, from where the number of misinformed nodes will decrease. That is the point of decline. So our objective would be that for a given B, we have to minimize the T, that is when the curve declines. So what are the challenges for this problem? Most of the earlier works were based on the influence maximization problem. That is, they will put the true information to the most influential nodes. Why? Because the most influential nodes have the largest number of neighborhoods. They can influence most of the people, so that aggressively they will be influence more and more people to have the true information to combat the misinformation. But to find the most influence maximization problem, that is again a NP-hard problem. And even heuristics, many researchers have proposed so many heuristics to handle this problem, but even those are very, very computation intensive and therefore slow. It will take much time to implement it. And so far, no one has taken into account the underlying topology, that is the community structure. But let us see that how this can play an important role. Say, for this example, the red nodes, they have the misinformation. The blue nodes say they have the true information or any information. Then you see, it is whenever a misinformation emerges, that will be, you can assume in most of the cases that will remain within a community. Some sources are there, specific sources are there, they are propagating the misinformation. So it will remain within the community. Now, how can it get back to the other community? Through some inter-community edges, right? From community to community. And in this way, they can spread. So what will happen if we put the guards on the boundaries, boundary between two communities, so that the guards have the true information, so that they will combat the misinformation and will prevent to propagate it to the other communities, so that it can't become the it can't flow throughout the network. Shubhankar, how much time we are left with? So we define here the community boundary nodes, right? What are those? Those are the nodes of the community which have the connection, inter-community edges, which share the inter-community edges. Here you see the red ones, the yellow ones, and the blue ones. These are the community boundary nodes because they have the edges within the community as well as edges with the other communities. We call it community boundary nodes. So let us use these community boundary nodes as the guards to protect to contain the misinformation within any community, so that inter-community propagation cannot take place and we can limit the propagation of the misinformation better, right? Because there is so we have to identify the nodes responsible for information flow between communities. And edges between communities play a key role. It has been observed in earlier studies as well that whenever there is any event, then there is the propagation spikes across the inter-community edges. And so we will put the beacon nodes, that is the nodes with true information, across the community boundary nodes. Okay. So how we will select the beacon nodes? That is the nodes who will have the true information. In a social network, you see, it is a huge network with millions of nodes, and as well, the number of community boundary nodes, that is also huge. That is not small, very small. It is also huge. And you have a limited budget only. So what will happen? We can, in our analysis, we will pick up the beacon nodes probabilistically, giving priority to the community boundary nodes. Okay, community boundary nodes will be selected with higher probability as the beacon nodes, so that we can put the true information among them. So you have a budget, you are the controller, you have the responsibility to control misinformation. So what will you do? You will pick up some community boundary nodes with higher probability to convince that you will have the true information, and whenever there is any propagation of misinformation, you will try to spread the true information to bias the people so that they can get rid of the misinformation. That is the strategy. That is the main strategy. Okay. So there will be the true information cascade as well as the misinformation cascade, and both will when they will meet, what will happen? We have put the higher priority to the true information, and so that it will win over the misinformation, and that the node will change its belief. That is the new concept in our work that was not there earlier. So at each time instant, any node may be in one of the 4 states: inactive with no information, active with misinformation, inactive with the correct information. You have the correct information, but unless you know that, yes, there is a propagation of misinformation, you will not get active, right? You have the truth information, but once you get the misinformation from some of your neighbor, then only you will become active, and active with the correct information. So that is the state diagram. If you are in a state S1, that means you active with misinformation I dash. So what will, if you get active, you can activate your neighbor, and if you are activated by a true neighbor, then you will change your state from S1 to S3, right? In this way, this state diagram has been shown. So now the algorithm, we follow the multiple information independent cascade model for information propagation. You see the colors are not very distinct. Some are gray, that is the beacon nodes, and some are inactive nodes, that is the yellow ones, and they will propagate. And finally, we have seen that, with time, firstly, they were the beacon nodes. In the previous example, we have created some beacon nodes only as the community boundary nodes, preferring the community boundary nodes, given the budget, and rest are the idle nodes, inactive nodes. Now there comes some misinformed nodes. The red ones are the misinformed nodes, beacon nodes are the gray nodes, and white nodes are the inactive nodes. So there are 3 misinformed nodes and 4 beacon nodes, right? The number 4 will be determined by your budget. Now, step by step, what will happen? Firstly, the misinformed nodes will always, whenever they have the misinformation, they are always free to propagate it over the network, over to the neighbors, again with some probability as is determined by the ICN model, anti-ICN model. Now they are propagating, so more and more number of misinformed nodes will grow up. Now, when the true nodes, beacon nodes, will get some misinformation, then only they will be activated and they will propagate. They will counteract the misinformation. So it is a delayed action by the true nodes. Eventually it will be. So firstly, the number of misinformed nodes will grow up, but with time, since the true cascade have more priority, when the true nodes will be active, they will spread the true information, and the people and the persons with misinformation, whenever they will get the true information with the higher priority, they will change their belief so that they have the correct information. Again, they will be active and they will propagate that. So eventually the whole network will be free of misinformation, or it will be contained. That means it will be limited, remain limited within some nodes only, which are all surrounded by the true information, so that they can never influence the other. That is, from true information to misinformation, that is not allowed in our model. That is, we are assuming that all people are very considerate and they are aware of the situations. So there is a finally theorem that shows that yes, really by our model, the number of misinformed nodes actually after a time, they will always be monotonically decreasing with time. That means the misinformation will get contained. And that is our joint work. My co-authors, it was published in Knowledge-Based Systems in 2021. We have simulated this thing. The theorem establishes that yes, it will be successful. And now we have with real world networks, real world power law benchmark networks, we have studied the performance. The networks that we have studied, that is the Facebook, a part of Facebook containing 63K nodes and so many edges. Q is the modularity, that is the community structure, and NC is the number of community boundary nodes, CBNs. You see, that is also huge, 43K. You may not have that so much budget to push the true information to every CBN. So you have to select some CBNs probabilistically. Then these four networks, on these four real world networks, we have studied the simulation work. We have done our simulation work. Simulation was done on a parallel machine because it is a huge network and huge computation is to be done. And both ICM and MTICM, those models are implemented and performances are compared with the contemporary works. And throughout the simulation, these are some values. This shows that how you will choose the probability P, that is the probability of true information propagation. Probability of misinformation, that we have kept fixed at 50% only, right? And this has been, we have varied it from 0.1 to 0.5, that is, and with that you see that the number of misinformed nodes, maximum infected time, the first one, the average infected time, the second one, and the point of decline, that is the capital T. And you see that as you go on increasing the probability of the true information propagation, obviously the performance will be improved. You can better contain the misinformation within a certain time, within very, very fast. And the number of misinformed nodes, that will also be limited, that will also be improved. And also we have point of decline, that from when, that is the point of decline is capital T, that for how long the number of misinformed nodes will grow up. That also have been observed for various values of capital P. Capital P is actually the probability with which you are taking more boundary nodes as the true nodes. Given the budget, with high probability, you are selected the community boundary nodes, and it shows that whenever you choose the community boundary nodes more and more, the performance is better. That shows the effectiveness of our thing. And number of active nodes also, with correct information, you see that was very small. That was the number of beacon nodes initially. They become active and then they will grow up in this way. And they ultimately, the number of misinformed nodes, that is the total number of nodes minus number of nodes with true information, that will be saturated. That is, the misinformation will be contained. And also we have compared the computation time, and this is in our parallel machine, and that shows that this is the blue one is our parallel algorithm. It shows for both disjoint community structure and overlapped community structure. Communities may overlap, that is, you may belong to the both communities equally, then we call it overlapped boundary structure. And for that also, you may see that you have when the other methods, they take 15 time units, we can do with 4 time units. So much improvement by our method. So it is very fast, no doubt. It's very fast and very successful. You can contain the misinformation. So let us come to the final discussion, Figures 4. So it is a proactive defensive approach. We call it defensive. It is not offensive, but it is defensive, that we are putting guards to protect each community so that there is no misinformation communication among the communities, to restrict the pod. And we place trusted nodes with correct information statically, leveraging the community structure. So to start with, we have to know the community structure of the network. And placement of trusted nodes is independent of the distribution of misinformation nodes. That is a very strong point. And it was not in the earlier works. In the earlier works, whenever there is an emergence of misinformation, you see that where are they, and accordingly, you have to put the most influential nodes who can restrict these things, etc. That you have to find dynamically. And then we have studied, we have evaluated our performance on real-world networks, and we have seen that our proposed algorithm actually improves the performance, maximum infected time, average infected time, and point of decline as well. Now, to be done, it is to study more real-world networks with strong or weak community structure. So far, we have seen that the modularity index is very high, near close to unity. But what will happen if the community structure is weak? And also, more real-world networks are to be studied and to be seen that how this works. And also, it is important to propose realistic information diffusion models and to validate the schemes, because the model so far is not so realistic. As you have seen that in the multiple independent cascade model also, it has taken that once a node is infected, in the next time step, it will be inactive. But in real scenario, especially in COVID-19 scenario, you have seen that a person may get infected repeatedly. Once he is recovered, he again can be infected and can be a source of the disease to spread it in its neighborhood. So more realistic models are to come up to handle all this real situation. There is a large gap, and the scope of research is already there. So now the question comes that how you can implement it actually in the online social networks. That is, it is an online social network has evolved. It is dynamically changing its topology with time. How can you convince some people that, yeah, you will protect the true information, you will be the source of true information like that. So a centralized controller is needed actually, who will supervise all these things and who will actually can put the true information, who can feed the true information time to time, so that misinformation can get contained and its effectiveness can get limited. That's all. Thank you. Any question?
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So whenever you get any information through your social networks, you first verify it before just forwarding it to your groups and all these things.
See some information, you think that it's true, but
yeah,
without even verifying, you send it to them or friends or whoever, and they also think that it is true, and then it just spreads like wildfire. So be very careful about the information, right? Very careful about the source and also the trust. Trustworthiness is a very important thing, right? Whether you trust the source or not. Actually, I have one question. How do you choose the beacon nodes? How do you know that they don't have any misinformation?
Beacon nodes are the nodes with true information. True information. So basically, given the network, you first find the communities. Okay, community structure. Standard algorithms are there. You've given the network. That is the set of nodes and set of edges. You find the communities. Then you know who are the community boundary nodes. Right? See here, given the Twitter network, it contains 465K nodes, right? And we have found out their community structures, and we have found that only 89K are the community boundary nodes who have inter-community edges, right? Now, given my budget, say I have a budget of, so that I can put only 500 trusted nodes, beacon nodes. Then I will probabilistically choose among the community boundary nodes, I will choose the beacon nodes probabilistically, giving higher probability to the boundary nodes and the limitation of the budget. Say 500, among them, say 400 will be community boundary nodes, 100 will be, say, the normal nodes. In this way, we are choosing them, and we are assuming that, yes, we can influence those persons to have the true, to put the true information. Some incentives will be given to them so that they agree. But with the true information, they will remain, initially, they will remain inactive. But once they get the misinformation, then they will disseminate the true information. That means there will be two contradictory cascades, information cascades will exist for some time. Then ultimately the true information will win, and the misinformation either will be eliminated or it will remain contained within few nodes. All the misinformed nodes are actually get surrounded by the true informed nodes, so that they cannot propagate or they cannot change the belief of others. That is the idea. Yes.
How is this affected by situations where like the nodes that are supposed to be trusted are not trusted? Say it's like, say the source has proven itself to be like had like corruption in the past or something, or there's like propaganda that's being spread, say by like a corrupt country or something. How's this affected by that?
Yeah. Here, that is a very good question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you repeat the question so that the online audience can also repeat?
If persons are biased, they have already, am I right? They are biased, they have their belief by some propaganda or some by their friends, by their communities. They believe that it is true, but it is actually false, right? Am I right?
And in between that and things like, what if like the source is not always 100% truthful or correct? Say it's like some like corrupt country or something where they have a history of like spreading, misinformation, but they're supposed to be the trusted source.
Yeah, that is the case, that they have from some other sources or something, they believe that the misinformation is the true information, and they won't get back, switch their belief. That is the thing. Yeah. In reality, that may happen. But in our model, we have just assumed a very simplistic thing, that people are always either yes or no, either true or false. Nothing, there is no question of ambiguity. And also, people are very sane people. That is, they know that yes, I have got these two contradictory information, but this is from this source. I believe on that source, which is accepted worldwide. It is a reliable source. I will go by him. That is the thing. But yeah, there are so many people, so many psychology there. There are many combinations are possible. But we have considered here a very simplistic model to emphasize that you can contain it in this way. But here you can, as we have here we have assumed that always true information will win. We are giving its priority, but we can uniformly, but you can make it person dependent, age dependent, A to B. Between them, how much they will trust or not, that you can define probabilistically. But to model it, it will be complicated, no doubt. But if you can show that, yes, it works, and it can contain, finally, it can contain. Actually, you may put some bounds on the population that who are so biased, strongly staunch supporter of something. They never will believe the other inputs. Okay, some incidents, everyone they can view it in different perspectives, right? But if they are biased people, so they will never switch their belief. So they have the affinity to that biased information, right? So accordingly, you can vary the probability within some limits, and then you can model it and you can observe, you can study the performance. Yes, that is so. It is obviously, it is very simplistic model. It is not very realistic. There are so many cases may happen, and that will make your life complex, no doubt. Yes, very good question.
Any other question?
Many scopes are there to extend the work actually. Many probabilistic study, many affinity, on who you will trust better, that you can change it probabilistically. You can assign different probabilities to different ages, depending on the persons like that.
This is a huge problem for all real world social networks, including Facebook, Google,
Exactly.
Twitter, all of these, they have a lot of fact checkers, right?
Right.
So you probably heard about this, that they have fact checkers who actually
remove the tweets or those posts from the network. But so far, there is no such technique that you can disseminate the true information. You can push some true information in the network through some users. Those techniques are not. Yes.
Another question: how is this affected by I guess the model in terms of like how controversial or like important information is? Like obviously, it would probably be more effective on like simpler things, saying like if there's a study to come out tomorrow to say that almonds are bad, and they tell everybody that almonds are bad, it's not so severe, so it's easier to convince people.
Yes.
But like, how's the model affected by something more severe, breathing air while you're upside down is bad or something, or it changes like something like very, very drastic. Like how much is this effective?
Yeah. In reality, the life is not so simple. Yeah, there are many variations. It is not just white and black things, true and misinformation. You cannot differentiate among these. There are many gray things that are also there. But for the analysis and theoretical analysis and all this purpose, so far we have assumed that yes, it is either true or false.
Okay, just to address this question. All of you agree that smoking is bad for health. Who doesn't agree with me? All of you agree. So there is no
ambiguity, yeah. Right? But still people smoke. Okay, so anything else?
I have a question about Professor Dat.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. So these networks, they are from the SNAP library, I guess, right?
Oh, I see. It is Katerina. Yeah, Katerina.
Yes. Did you augment them? Did you change them, or did you use them as they are?
No, the networks that we have studied, the 4 networks that we have studied.
Yes.
Yes. For say, Amazon, the whole network we have studied, but for Facebook and Twitter, we have taken it partially from the available data.
Ah, okay.
Not the whole network. It is impossible almost.
So you did some pre-processing on them, right? So you did augment them with extra information, right?
Yeah. From them, we actually put our algorithm on community detection. Some Leuven's algorithm also we have applied to extract the community structures, the community boundary nodes, and then we apply our algorithm.
So you use the non-overlapping and overlapping community detection.
Yeah, actually, in this talk, we have omitted the overlapped community thing portion, but we actually, in our paper, in the knowledge-based systems, we have there shown the study on both disjoint as well as overlapped.
Okay, and which one did you use for the overlapping communities? Which algorithms did you use?
The same networks, but there we have extracted the disjoint communities, as well as after that, we have also applied the community detection algorithm for overlapped communities.
Mm-hmm.
And for the same networks, we have applied both.
Yeah, I remember you said the Girvan Newman. Which one did you do for the overlapping? Which algorithms did you use for the overlapping?
Yeah,
Louvain and Girvan Newman for the non-overlapping, if I remember, and what's
yes, exactly. Yes.
And the overlapping?
For the overlapping, we have developed some algorithm. We have applied here our own algorithm on overlapped boundary.
Oh.
Actually starts from the disjoint communities and then extends it just by some manipulation over the common boundary nodes. We have extracted the overlapped boundary structures, overlapped community structures.
Okay. Thank you.
If you are interested, you can check with the online. It is available online, the paper on our knowledge-based systems. There you will get the cross-reference.
Yeah, I found it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you for your talk. It was very interesting. And also I liked your slides and